me share my screen. Good evening, everyone. Let's get this one. Good. Good evening, everyone. We are AuthSNKRs, and we're authenticating footwear on the blockchain. I'm Edward, and I organized one of the biggest blockchain events during the 2018 Blockchain Week in New York City. Next is Richard, a full-stack web and mobile developer who is a CTO for a consumer-facing company doing over 300,000 requests per week. Reginald is a full-stack web developer and a chemist. And we have Rockstar, Avanika, and Simon who helped us, who are also full-stack web and mobile developers as well, and previously co-founded a crypto e-commerce marketplace. Today, we're going to be focusing on counterfeiting. We know that counterfeiting is a big problem because it destroys brand value, takes away from sales, is prohibited to buy in many countries, and involves illegal and oftentimes unsafe manufacturing practices. So just how big is counterfeiting? Well, according to the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, there was $461 billion worth of counterfeited products bought and sold in 2013. And the top counterfeited good? Footwear. Currently, there are no tools and no proving methods to consistently verify a sneaker's authenticity. Companies right now use self-certified experts to inspect each shoes. This opens up huge gap for errors, inconsistencies, and human bias. It is also expensive, time-consuming, and not scalable. And this is where AuthSNKR comes in. We add a layer of transparency that empowers brands to combat counterfeiting. This builds trust for the brand and gives consumers confidence in their purchases. How it works. We have broken down the process into 3 steps. First, we tokenize the sneaker on the blockchain. A brand can register a sneaker with an image, SKU number, and UPC. Then, when a customer purchases a shoes, the transfer of ownership gets logged to the specific token on the blockchain. And finally, to validate the authenticity of the sneaker, the buyer is able to view the sneaker's chain of ownership, which can be traced back to the sneaker manufacturer. The buyer knows that the information comes from a blockchain, so the data was not compromised. Now, Richard will be demonstrating the AuthSNKR dApp.
Hi, folks. So here we have inputting information for a sneaker. I've already pre-filled the form, and we have the image URL, the SKU, and the UPC for the sneaker. We hit submit, and it goes through MetaMask. We confirm the transaction, and this has tokenized the sneaker for us. It's taken all this information and stored it into the blockchain. It's returned a sneaker ID, which is sneaker ID number 3. And now we can validate that the owner is who they say they are for the sneaker. So I have the address for the owner pre-stored, and we click submit. And then we can see that indeed it is valid that this person does own this sneaker. We also have a list of previous owners for that sneaker, and since it's just freshly created, it's just that one address, which happens to be us. Now we can transfer the sneaker. So if we want to transfer the recently created sneaker ID 3, click that here. And then I have copy and pasted from a separate address. So we're going to transfer the sneaker from our ownership to that address. Goes through MetaMask again. We pay our gas fee. We can see that the transaction was successful, and then the ownership has been transferred to this new person or this new address. Now we can go back and validate that sneaker 3 has a new owner. And if we put the previous address in here, you can see that the sneaker is no longer valid. And then we can also see that in the past owners list, there is 2 addresses now, and that the new address, the most recent one, is the person who currently now owns the address, the sneaker. And it's valid. And we can also see now that if we were to come back in and try to transfer this sneaker, which no longer belongs to us, if we put in a random address here, we can just change our previous one, that we can see that clicking this transfer button no longer works because we don't have ownership of the sneaker. So this ensures authenticity of who actually owns the sneaker. And that's our data.